Okay, so here I am going through my box of stuff. I have this photo box that I picked up from Michael's, and I throw in anything that I think I might like to use in a smashbook in here. And what I really love to do when I sit down for a smashbooking session, or kind of crafting in general, I really just love to have a bunch of stuff around me that I can kind of just dig through and pull out things that are interesting to me, that I think I might use. And here you can see the page I completed. I actually tried to record that and my camera battery died, so it didn't actually record, but I decided to record the second page that I was going to do, so I was doing a 2-page spread that day. And I was deciding here whether or not I wanted to stay with the same colors or if I wanted to try mix and match the pages, and ultimately I ended up sticking with the original page. So yeah, I've just kind of pulled out some things. I don't really have a theme or anything in particular that I was going for. Those cards that I'm holding right now are actually from a old calendar that I had picked up at Michael's a few years ago, and I actually am going to use those for another project. So I pulled them out when I saw them because they had given me an idea for a different project that I was going to work on. So here I'm trying to decide, and I'm this little camera, I put a lot of effort into trying to pull it apart, and I had just purchased an Instax camera, and I wanted to put this on the page somewhere, since the page adjacent to it has my pictures. The first picture I took with my Instax, a picture of my friend and I at a coffee shop. So I was originally going to try to put that on the coordinating page, so I was trimming it up and just laying things out. And this is just like a card that I had received, or it had rather, a bunch of magnetic bookmarks on it, or book clips. And since I've been reading a lot, I thought that was kind of a cool thing to keep. And it ultimately contributed to the theme that these 2 pages ended up having. Not that I started out with that intention, but that's what I love about crafting and creativity, is just kind of watching how things unfold as you dig through and play around. This little tea packet is from a tea I received in a swap, and I loved the tea bag, and it was a chocolate and vanilla tea that I had, and I had saved it for my evening where I get to myself. I have an evening once a week where my husband's out, and I usually end up, after the kids go to bed, sitting down with some tea and either crafting or streaming Netflix. So hence the Netflix folders that you see in the back there. So I ended up using one of those old cards, and I was going to set that up as a backdrop. I just loved the art on these. It was so bright and vivid, and I thought it went really nicely with the orange paper. It felt very springy, since it's spring here in the East Coast, so it felt like it fit in real nice. And generally what I do is I just kind of play around, lay things where I think they might look good, move stuff around, and then sometimes when I actually sit down to glue everything, it doesn't look anything like what I originally laid out. And that little piece of cardboard ended up becoming the bane of my project here, because I really wanted to use it and it just didn't look good. So ultimately I scrap it. And that is just a little note that I left for my husband one morning. I set up coffee for him. He leaves for work fairly early, so I had set up coffee for him so he didn't have to worry about it, and I left him a little note on the coffee maker, and then he wrote a little note back to me. So I had saved that and threw it in here. And I decided I didn't like the top of the bag being ripped, and looking at it, I thought, I wonder if this would be a pocket to hold the note that we wrote. And since it was just on a piece of scrap paper, I was able to go ahead and I checked and made sure there was nothing else inside, and I decided to just trim it down so it would fit. And I decided I liked the color back, or sticking out better. So now I'm playing around with, I had cut out from one of the Netflix envelopes, I had cut out just the Netflix logo that I was going to include in here because at the time of everything that I'm using on this Smashbook page, I've been watching a lot of Netflix, particularly The Vampire Diaries, so it seemed like something fitting, and that's when I kind of realized there was a little theme unfolding here, and it was kind of a snapshot of things that were going on in my life, things that I love, so that was the ultimate theme that immersed. So I realized at about this point that that's what I was going to make the theme be, and that's why I cut out the little piece of the Smashbooking kit. The cardboard you see there at the top of the desk was from a Smashbooking kit I purchased, and I cut out their little logo to include, since I had been doing a lot of Smashbooking. And so now I've kind of decided on the layout. I feel happy with it, and that's when I just decided to glue everything down. Generally, I use for these a glue stick, just a regular Elmer's glue stick, whatever I have on hand. I tend to have quite a few of them, so I just grab whichever one I have. I also have a snail adhesive or a tape runner, one of the large I think they're 3M tape runners that I'll also use. But for Smashbooking, I really just like to use the glue stick because I keep one in the box for the photos, the photo box that you saw earlier. And for me, I like the idea that I can just grab that box. It has my Smashbook in it, the current one I'm working on, and all my stuff, and I can just grab it. And if I want to sit downstairs while we're watching TV and do a page, I can do it, and there's not much. I keep a pair of scissors in there, little washi tape for decorative. You'll see me bring out some washi in a minute. And, for me, that's an easy craft that I can kind of do anywhere and when the mood strikes without too much mess. And everything just gets dumped back in the photo box. I'm actually thinking of picking up a couple more of them, either with a coupon or when they're on sale, to keep and because I'd like to do a Smashbook for each of the kids and kind of start it current and go forward, and then I can always try to go back from when they were younger, but it seems like something that might be fun to start collecting for. So this is me. I just had picked out some washi that I thought looked really nice with everything. I did edit out because I end up ripping off a piece and then I cannot find the starting point again. So I end up sitting there. You can see like it just edited out. I end up sitting there forever trying to rip off a couple more pieces. I think it was like 5 minutes. So I cut that out and torture you with me sitting there working on trying to break off a piece of washi. And here I'm just writing down the name of the Vampire Diaries since I was watching that. So I put that up by the Netflix logo. I had originally thought about using a colored pen, but they weren't easily accessible. So I just went with my black one that I kept on my desk. And there I wrote the series of books that I was reading at the time. I'm reading the Divergent series, so I wrote that down. And then at the bottom, just adding, the date. I always like to date the Smashbooking pages so that I can keep a record of them. And I realized afterwards that I wanted to go back and do that. The other page, I actually stamped the date, but since I had already put away and cleaned my stamp, I thought I would just write it here. As I said, I like to keep my Smashbooking pages really, really simple. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I really appreciate you watching. So here's a close-up of both pages.